for the website for the future. So good morning. Welcome to the Missouri Public Transit Association's Vendor Spotlight Solutions to Prevent and Prepare for Accidents. My name is Mike Foley. I'm the Assistant Director of the Missouri Public Transit Association. Every year, MPTA provider members provide more than 42 million rides throughout the country, throughout Missouri. These rides are rides to school, to work, jobs, training programs, and healthcare. Transit employs thousands in our communities and keeps Missouri moving. I would like to welcome the MPTA board members who are joining us via Zoom this morning. Thank you all for attending. Transit works hard to get people where they need to go every day. Ensuring the safety and timeliness of staff and riders is always a top priority. While accidents are inevitable, they are often preventable. If an accident does occur, it's important to be prepared to handle the consequences of those accidents. Today, we are joined by two of our MPTA vendor members that are providing solutions to transit providers to help reduce preventable accidents and navigate the outcomes of accidents that do happen. I'd like to welcome Christopher Baumann, Vice President of Integrated Transportation Resources. Chris is joining us to discuss insurance policies and programs to cover rural transit and non-emergency medical transportation providers when accidents do inevitably occur. I'd also like to welcome Rich Medina of Luminator Technology Group. Rich will be discussing the Geotab surf site and video mirror solutions, addressing some of the leading causes of preventable accidents. So welcome to Chris. Rich is not on the line yet, but he will be joining us shortly. As always, please include questions in the chat box or the Q&A box below. We'll be monitoring that throughout the presentation. Chris, if you'd like to start us off this morning.
Mike, thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to thank all the joining members of the Missouri Public Transit Association for taking time out of your busy morning to join us here to allow us to present solutions for possible accident avoidance. My name is Christopher Baumann. I am Vice President of Integrated Transportation Resources. I'm going to go ahead and pull up let me share my screen here. 1 second. There we go. And bear with me. There. And we are sharing. Michael, can you confirm we are sharing?
Yes, I can see your screen.
Mike, I'd like to thank you for the opportunity. I'd like to thank Kim Sella. I'd like to thank Mallory for allowing us to present on this beautiful God-blessed morning in Missouri. We're going to be discussing solutions to prevent and prepare for accidents and a program that we released that is working very well for our clients nationwide to prevent accidents as well. You may ask, who is Integrated Transportation Resources? It's a really, really amazing story. There's two things I said I would never do. One was work for dad, and two was live in suburbia, and I do both. I was a corporate pilot for 11 years, and I saw an opportunity to carry on a legacy. But with that said, Integrated was founded in 2003 by my father, Roger Baumann. He was coming off a 32-year career in placing commercial long-haul trucking coverage, typically units of 500 or more across the nation. As you well know, who have been in the transit arena for several years, in 2001, the commercial auto market really dumped upside down for non-emergency providers. Their premiums were tripling and quadrupling, in some cases doubling. Just a bad situation because you, as well as everybody else who is in the transportation arena, knows that next to gas and maintenance, insurance is your most expensive cost. With that said, living here in Lake St. Louis, Dad getting ready to retire, Lynn and Peg Griswold, who were the owners of MTM at the time, reached out to my dad because of his insurance experience and asked him for consultation and a possible solution. which really launched a long-term relationship with medical transportation management. Dad was able to scour the markets, come up with 4 carriers that were able to stabilize, even after having to explain what non-emergency medical transportation exposure was to underwriters. But with that said, we developed a long-term relationship with MTM from essentially 2003, and we still maintain a relationship with them today. But after coming up with that solution, ITR was born. Today, we're a Christian principles-based company. We're located just north of Lake St. Louis, about a half a mile. We have 13 employees who share our philosophy, and that is to serve the client, located in O'Fallon, Missouri. Currently, we are licensed in 42 states. We place coverage for a little over 880 providers, which interpolates to about 13,000 insured vehicles nationwide. We have since 2003 handled an account here in Missouri, which is the largest transportation provider in Missouri, by the name of Oates. We're going through the years with Linda Yeager and now Dorothy Yeager. You don't keep an account that size that long if you're doing something wrong. We fully believe in serving the client and catering to their every need. We believe in our word. When you say you're going to do something, you do it. With that said, we're entering another hard market here. We're already in it. Back in 2017, we saw this coming, where insurance premiums were doubling and tripling. One specific carrier exited the market by the name of Atlas Financial Holdings, which they had about 200 million in insurance premiums. And with that said, that left about 160 million after certain carriers picked up key accounts, and we saw an opportunity to put together a program to stabilize the market. Having an option of paying $3,000 a unit or paying $20,000 a unit for insurance costs with nothing in between was really, really disturbing. My partner and competitor of 12 years, he and I decided to go ahead and endeavor into this. It took us 3 years to build this insurance company and program with a tremendous amount of data mining, loss analysis, why claims were happening, to present to insurance carriers to back this. We launched this in November of 2020, and successfully it is up and running and has been since then. And we continue to move insureds from current situations with free obligation, no obligation analysis of their situation. And we're improving their situations between 10 and 40% on a commercial package, auto, general liability, abuse and molestation coverage. And it does come with a distracted driving service. This is a Motive Care backed, Southeast Trans backed program. Getting into the main thrust of my presentation this morning, there are 2 types of accidents that we see. There's incidents, avoidable and unavoidable. The unavoidable, we can't do a lot about. That's the situation where other vehicle rear ends us, other vehicle backs into us, a deer, act of God, things of that nature. Those are the avoidable accidents. Or the unavoidable, I'm sorry. But with the avoidable accidents, these are the accidents that we see consistently reoccurring that is impacting your insurance premiums at renewal and can haunt you for up to 5 years. You may ask, what is an avoidable accident? It's a collision arising out of a lack of vigilance, being wakeful, being alert, what's going on when you're operating your vehicle, a collision arising out of a lack of situational awareness, understanding where your vehicle is in relation to space and time, in a parking lot, looking around, how big is your vehicle? Are you familiar with it? A collision arising out of one's self-inflicted distraction. We all see this. How many times do you drive down the highway and you look over at the car next to you, and what are they doing? They've got their head down, they're looking at their phone, texting. We see this a lot, and we get camera footage of actual transportation providers who have had this type of situation and accidents have occurred. And without the distracted driving telematics, it'll continue, even with a no cell phone policy implemented, where people are human, they're going to do what they're going to do. And finally, employing a repeat offender driver. This is a driver that you see get into one fender bender, and until he'll end up getting into another accident. And I'll talk about the percentage on that. But examples of vigilance and distraction: your vehicle rear ends another vehicle. You're following too closely, may not be paying as much attention in inclement weather, texting while driving. You look up, the car in front of you's got their brake lights on, they're stopped, boom. That is an avoidable accident. As long as there's vigilance and situational awareness employed there, you should never rear end another vehicle. Situational awareness: insured vehicle backing into other vehicle or fixed object. This happens a lot in parking lots. Know where you are in space and time. Utilize your mirrors. Cameras, backup cameras, they don't lie. But if you don't know, get out, take a look, and ensure that you've got a safe margin to continue on your way. Securement are avoidable. Securement claims are avoidable as well. Wheelchair tip overs arising out of failure to secure properly. Well, we got 3 out of the 4 Q strengths, but we didn't get the 4th. Wheelchair tip over due to uneven pavement or failure to recognize a slide out situation. And bear in mind, these are all real claims. We see these all the time. The pavement issue, coming out of a facility, going door to door or door through door, you hit a crack in the pavement, uneven pavement. Typically, the passenger is not strapped in at that point. They could slide out or wheelchair tip over. So that falls back to that situational awareness and vigilance in every facet or phase of what you're doing, because that's someone's grandmother, someone's grandfather. Imagine that they're your grandmother or grandfather or father or mother, taking that extra care to complete that task without fault. It's paramount. Drivers who are involved in an at-fault accident, and this comes from the National Safety Council, are 80% more likely to repeat. Be aware of problematic drivers that reoccur. And the way you can look at this is look at your loss runs on a quarterly basis. Look at them on a 6-month basis. If you see a driver come up with one claim and then another claim, see if it's a trend with what's going on with that driver, because if they've already got 2 incidents, their potential for a catastrophic loss has exponentially gone through the roof. We want you to embrace and encourage and promote a safety culture. Have driver safety meetings often to review performance as a whole. At a minimum, empower the drivers to utilize the I'm Safe checklist. The I'm Safe checklist is a derivative out of the aviation industry, and it really does hold true. With that said, it's an acronym that states illness, medication, stress, alcohol, fatigue, emotion. If you have any 2 of those out of the 6, there's a potential for an incident. And with that said, the probability increases the more you qualify for additional I'm Safe conditions. We've seen this time and time again, and I would love to show videos, but as we talk in the future with individuals who are attending this morning, I'll share with you incidents where I can show you that illness and emotion or medication, how it really plays a role in camera footage, in rollover accidents, things of that nature. Whether a trip is ambulatory, wheelchair, stretcher, implement the mental checklist of DBS. This is simple acronyms: doors, belts, straps. Are the doors all shut and secure? Are the seat belts fastened on all passengers? Are the straps for the stretcher or for the wheelchair, are they locked, secured, and double checked? There is no reason for a tip over accident to occur. We've also pushed over the last 10 years implementation of utilization of the Q-Strength Posey belt. They cost between $25 and $27. We all remember what a cummerbund looks like when we went to a high school dance or a tuxedo. Essentially, it looks like a cummerbund that's vinyl wrapped with a webbing, seatbelt webbing that goes around below the wheelchair passenger's arms and abdomen area and locks in the back behind the wheelchair with a seatbelt fastener. This will alleviate the opportunity for that person in a hard stop situation to slide out. We transport all different sizes of folks, and when that center of gravity gets higher, you have that higher propensity for, in a hard stop, for the rider to be thrown forward and slide out of the chair. We want to know that ITR is there for you and your operation. What we can offer is we take the time to discuss what current claims you have. We look at your loss history, we look for trends, and we will then make suggestions on how to, going forward, implement programs or processes that will alleviate avoidable accidents. We do a full analysis of all your exposures, not just your auto exposure, not just your general liability exposure, your property exposure, where your place of business is, and we make suggestions. And if you're already in a good place, you have nothing to really lose in this situation, other than we believe in the philosophy: if we see that you're insured properly, you've got great pricing, we're going to say, stay there. You're in a good position. But if you ever have any questions, reach out to us. We're here for you, whether you're a client or not. That philosophy has worked very well for us over the last 19 years. We also will provide, when we do speak with individuals of this organization, members, a commercial proposal from our exclusive program, just to show you what we can offer. Historically, over the last year, we've seen reduction of 10 to 40% on your insurance premiums. And this can be even reviewed at a midterm. I know there's a lot of transportation, council on aging, federally funded programs that can't really switch expiration dates, but please feel free to reach out to us. We could take a look at your situation, get you on the calendar to offer a proposal when it comes time, or even show you at that point in time how much we might be able to reduce your insurance premiums on a package policy with an A9 rated carrier. It takes about 3 to 5 business days to, once we get your information, to get back to you and discuss the entire situation. In conclusion, you may ask, what separates ITR from other agencies? There's agencies all over the place, but all we do is we focus on non-emergency medical transportation. We do have some trucking, taxi, and limo, but that's about 3% of our overall book of business. Our dedication to partnering with you, offering the expertise that we've had and experienced in the transportation industry, looking at your coverages, showing where we can enhance, while offering you lower premiums with the foundation of moving forward for a long-term relationship. Service is what separates us from other agencies, not talking into you at the point of sale and then talking to you 30 days before your renewal comes up. We stay in contact with you throughout the year, assist with loss analysis, and really try to enhance your risk management and safety culture. Here's my contact information. I know that Mike said that he was recording this. Mike may have an email blast that we can disseminate this out. If you want to take a minute or two to take a screenshot of that, please feel free to email me, call me, and we'd love to hear from you and see if we can't maybe do things or show you how to do things a little differently to improve your safety culture and improve your insurance costs. At this point, I'll take questions. That's it for my presentation in a summary.
Chris, thank you so much. I want to give a short update. First, we are going to be following up with an email to everybody who's in attendance today. So we'll include all of your contact information in that email. Happy to do that as well. Apparently we had some wires crossed, and Chris, when we got a hold of him, was at the airport getting ready to go to another city. He's not able to join us, so we will not be hearing from Luminator today. But that gives us more time for questions with Chris. So I did get a couple of questions emailed to me, and if you're okay, I'll start off with those. What is the max liability coverage that you all offer? Is it over 100 million? And do you limit access to high speed or high capacity roads?
Okay, to answer the first question, excess liability, we can go up to 50 million if you need it. If you need 100 billion, there are markets that will offer that, depending upon, I suspect this is probably out of a municipality or transit contract, but we do have access to excess and surplus markets above and beyond, and that type of coverage would be layered within multiple carriers, all A-rated carriers, with taking on the first 5 million with one carrier, then 20 million or 10 million X of 5 million to get you to 15. And then you might put another 40 layer on top of that to get you to 55 million. That can be built and structured, but yes, we do have access to that. That we saw more in the trucking industry on hazardous material hauling, things of that nature. But secondly, addressing the question on high speed access, if you could elaborate to, when I hear high speed access, I think Autobahn. If you could maybe elaborate on what it is that you're asking, I'm not exactly sure. We wouldn't eliminate, but I don't want to give you an answer to something I may not know. I can find out if I could get more definitive on what a high speed access road is.
Yeah, I will say the question was emailed to me. Oh, here we go. Interstates.
Oh, yeah. I mean, we don't see it a lot in Missouri, the high occupancy vehicle or, well, I haven't been downtown on Highway 70 in years, but the express lanes that used to separate the westbound, eastbound 70, I don't even know if they're still open. I think they are, but no, there's no limitation for that whatsoever. We insure urban, we insure suburban, we insure rural. That exposure does not change. Well, it does change getting closer into the city, and if that's where you're primarily operating, it may impact premiums a little bit, but not what you would think.
Okay, I think that answered that question. Then thank you. Yeah, because I was a little concerned, and then when someone popped up in the chat and they said, "Well, interstates," and I was like, "Of course." So in some areas, especially as you get closer into the cities, I know I live in St. Louis, and the metro buses are on the interstates, especially the express buses from the West County and South County into downtown. So
yes,
I think that's what they were talking about. So that answered that question. Trying to watch the chat to see if we had any other questions. Mallory, have you seen anything else?
Not at this time. Let me take a look at my email as well.
Okay, we did just get one. Does ITR influence HR practices post-accidents?
We will make suggestions. The influence depends upon how much or how much you want to embrace what suggestions we make. Your HR within your operation is set up per your company guidelines. You have company policies, things of that nature. But with respect to accident-plagued operations, to give you an example, let's say your HR practices drivers must be 21 years old. And let's say we see a trend happening there with younger drivers. We may suggest, hey, for now, let's look at 23-year-old drivers or 25-year-old drivers until we can get this under control from an incident perspective. Driver retraining after incidents. I don't want to say influence. We would make suggestions. That's up to you how to run your company, how to enhance your HR policies and procedures. But we have been doing this for a very, very long time. And the suggestions we have made in the past to problematic situations has certainly turned for the better and developed relationships that they trust us in what we suggest. We're not here just to waste your time. Your time's important, our time's important, and we want to do the best we can to make suggestions to alleviate future events.
And that immediately, as you were talking about ages, it brought a question to my mind, and someone already posted it in the chat as well, because I know with the driver shortage, we have a number of providers throughout the state who are looking at lowering that driving age and having drivers from 18 to 21. Would you have any issues ensuring an agency that has 18 to 21-year-old drivers?
Getting into 18, 19, 20, we would probably want to see, and believe me, I'm aware of the driver shortage. It just seems like there's no qualified individuals who want to get out there and work or just jump from transportation company to transportation company. What we would like to see in that circumstance is some sort of training beyond an online course. We would want to see, an IOE situation, an initial orientation education period, where the driver is trained to handle that vehicle, because an 18-year-old, they've been licensed for maybe 1 year, maybe 2 years, maybe, I hate to say it, my son's girlfriend is 18 and she still doesn't have her driver's license, which for the life of me, I can't figure it out. He drives her around. So she gets her license at 18. How much driving experience do they have? So in that instance, I'm not going to say, no, we couldn't look at a situation like that. But there would have to be a very, very good training protocol / program in place for dropping below typically, 21 or 23. And we could make suggestions on certain companies to do that training, because keep in mind, you're hauling passengers that bleed and sue. We we're not hauling general commodities. So with that, with the respect of 18 to 21 years old, they like to text. There's good individuals out there, and there's individuals that may not be able to cut it. It would be something that we would look at, but it would take severe communication between the insured or potential insured and our carriers to really evidence what you're doing to get that driver prepared to be out in that daily commute, transporting someone who, is frail in most cases. I don't think that they would have an issue with the loading and unloading. It's the development, because brains are still developing, up until 20 years old. And, good judgment and decision making. I always had an argument with the folks that taught me how to fly corporate jets and in college. Is judgment and decision making, is it learned or is it instilled? I believe it's learned through perceptions, through experiences, the building blocks that conceptualize what can cause an accident, what type of situation can be hazardous. So I'm not opposed to having that discussion, but it's something that would have to be considered. We've got an 18-year-old driver. Okay, what kind of experience does he have? What can we do for training to get that individual up to speed to be able to transport at a commercial level?
And we got another comment that someone else said training would be key. So yes, I think that is, and that just brings a question to my mind as we talk about training. Do the training requirement, do you track the training that drivers have at different agencies? Does that affect their premiums? The more training that an agency provides, does that help reduce premiums in the long run?
It really does. It has an impact in the commercial auto industry. It's. I'm going to give you an example. It's not like you go into a State Farm agency and, oh, well, I did the safe driving course. There's a 5% discount. I'm accident free for a year. There's another 10% discount. There's no buttons that are pressed in terms of generating a percentage discount. Operations that have forward-looking, rear-looking cameras that are cloud-based, not SD cards, hiring practices that you go through as far as vetting the candidate, training that you have in place, and evidencing that to underwriters. Consider me your representative, because I work for you. I don't work for the carriers. Consider me your representative to tell your narrative to the carrier what you're doing to achieve that target price that we're looking for. And that's where we really negotiate with the carriers that are out there to say, look, you know what, this operation checks all the boxes. They're doing everything right. Look at their history. Look at their training program. Look at their hiring criteria. Look at their return to work processes. Things of that nature. To answer your question, yes, it does impact premiums. Okay,
well, that's great. And it sounds like there are quite a few other things that impact premiums. I'm glad to hear as you were going through those, the cameras and all of the different ways that providers can really enhance their vehicles to help lower the premiums and make sure that they're providing a safe transit opportunity for the riders. So
absolutely. Absolutely.
I don't see any other questions in the chat or the Q&A. I'll give people a second if they have anything else, but we certainly appreciate your time today. If we don't have any other questions, I'm going to And as I mentioned, unfortunately, we had a miscommunication with Rich, so we'll try and get Rich back another time to talk about the mirror cameras that Luminator has available. So thank you all again for joining us this morning. We do have a few other upcoming events that we want you to be aware of. On July 8th, we'll hold our next education series event with a presentation from Lockmuller Group on the results of our statewide transit needs assessment. September 28th and 29th, we'll be in Springfield, Missouri, hosting our statewide conference and vendor expo. More information on all of these events is available on our website. Please consider joining MPTA if you're not an official member, or if you're a vendor, consider sponsoring the next MPTA Educational Series event or the upcoming conference. Thank you again for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you all in the future.
Thank you, everybody.